Hello, my name is Mattias, and this year I released my first album with Triptych. This album is part of a series called Eclipse, and in the Eclipse series, I want to shed light on composers who have unjustly been forgotten. And the first one is Joseph Wölfl. So, volume 1 of the Eclipse series, which was released in June, features some pieces by Joseph Wölfl. So back in the day, Joseph Wölfl was one of the most well-known composers and performers of his day. He was a piano player, a keyboard player. And yeah, he was just about as well-known as Ludwig van Beethoven, which is interesting because nowadays everyone knows who Beethoven is and no one knows the name Joseph Wölfl. But back in the day, he was quite well known. Beethoven and Willful actually had a piano duel once. And yeah, the sources are not, they are a little bit contradictory, but what is clear is that Beethoven and Willful were just about as good improvisers on the piano as each other. So to me, that is very fascinating, and yeah, I've always wondered then why is it that Joseph Wölfl has been forgotten since then. So I've noticed that when playing a classical piece, there are a lot of expectations that have to be met. If you play a Beethoven piece or a Mozart piece, people already know what they can expect, and you are you have to conform to those expectations if you want to give a successful performance. And this is something that I've struggled with in the past. And by playing music that no one or hardly anyone has ever heard of, I was able to liberate myself of those expectations and focus on truly expressing myself through a piece of music. And I think that's one of the most important reasons that I've chosen to record music by Joseph Wölfl. No one has any idea who he was or what his music sounds like. So it was a surprise for anyone who would listen to this album. And that meant that I could truly express myself on the piano without having to worry about what people were expecting. Yeah, and that gave me a great sense of freedom. And that also meant that I could do things that would otherwise be risky. For example, I put in a little cadenza type thing in two of the pieces. On the album are two big sonatas, and then towards the end of the piece, I injected a small semi-improvised cadenza, like you would have in a concerto. I connected all the pieces on the album with short intermezzos that I wrote myself. They're based on material of the Willful pieces, and they're kind of in the style of Joseph Wölfl. But yeah, by performing this unknown music, I felt the freedom to take these liberties and to take these risks. Yeah, that is a big reason, a very important reason for me to make the decision to perform this music. So when I got this idea of making a Willful album, I approached a few colleagues of mine to inquire which label would potentially be interested. And rather unanimously, people advised me to go to Triptych, because Triptych is usually looking for the unexpected and the unusual, and Willful definitely fits the bill. So I approached Triptych, and they were immediately interested in undertaking this project with me. So in February of 2021, we spent 3 days recording this album. And it was a quite bizarre period of 3 days. Firstly, it was because the curfew was implemented a few days before we started recording. So we had to kind of adjust our schedule to that. Then there was also the issue of me having to move from Austria. I was living in Austria at the time, and I had to move back to the Netherlands. And with the ever-changing travel restrictions because of the COVID pandemic, I had to ship my boxes with all of my property at the last moment and take a train in order to be able to quarantine 10 days before the recording. So that was a lot of there was quite a bit of mayhem in the process leading up to the recording. And then the recording days themselves were also rather crazy because there was a big snowstorm in that week. It was one of the coldest weeks of the year. I think probably the coldest week of the year. And the first day there were a few other people in the building. But the last 2 days that we were recording, all the orchestras that were rehearsing in the building, they were asked to stay home because of the snowstorm. It was unsafe to travel, and it was unpractical. So we were alone in this huge building, and we had it all to ourselves. And it was dark and cold outside, and we just spent some wonderful days recording this album in kind of a ghost town, surrounded by a snowstorm, which was rather unusual but really amazing. So my album has been out for a while now, but still it's very surreal to me to be holding the physical CD. It still feels as though this is someone else's album, but it's not. It's mine, and it's very special to me to be able to hold this and to let other people hear it and share it with people who are interested. And especially here in the Triptych studio, they have this new Dolby Atmos surround system, and when you listen to it here or anywhere with a Dolby Atmos system, it really sounds very similar to what it would be like to hear this music in a concert hall. To me, that is amazing. I have no idea how it's possible, but somehow it is yeah. It's almost the same as being in a real concert hall, physically witnessing the music being made. So that's rather cool.